I'm the Reverend Jim Ball with the Evangelical Environmental Network, and we're here in Washington, D.C. at the third Global Day of Prayer, and I'm here with my brother Victor from Malawi. And Victor, I'm not even going to try to say your last name. Why don't you tell folks who you are and what you do there in Malawi?
My name is Victor Mughogho, and I work as director of EGO's Relief and Development Program. It's a relief and development arm of an indigenous church, the Living Waters Church. We, as EGOs, we're working with many vulnerable communities in Malawi in helping adapt to the challenges and the changes that are happening in the environment that have affected their livelihoods and their lives.
And you were telling us this morning and yesterday as well at a briefing that we were both at, that climate change is really starting to have a serious impact on those folks there in Malawi. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about what climate change is doing there in Malawi?
Climate change is a big reality in Malawi. This is not just talk. This is so serious because I hear stories all the time from people in the village who are telling me that their parents would have food throughout the year, would even plant twice a year based on the rain that's falling. It has changed completely to the extent that they are having to replant 3 times, November or December and January, because the rain, there's so many dry spells and so many droughts that have just started occurring the past 20 years. They never used to be there. The rivers are drying. There used to be a river that people would go in and fish, grow vegetables, and now it's just full of sand. Nothing else. I've been there. I walked in that river and hear the laments of the people. So it has completely changed. The planting times have changed, completely shifted. October used to be the planting time. Now it's people will even plant in January. And January means by February end or March, it's gone again. So it is very drastic changes that have happened, and the climate change is a big reality on the ground for the people.
Yeah, so that before climate change, folks would be able to plant twice, right, and have 2 harvests, and now the rains are coming unpredictably, and you're having more drought and more flood. Are you seeing more flooding too?
Actually, that's an amazing, but there are more floods as well. This year alone, as I'm talking about the failure of the rain and people having to replant several times. What also happened, all of a sudden, in April, when everyone was given up, and those who had a few crops in their field, they are still harvesting other crops. All of a sudden, we had so much rain in 2 to 3 days. Massive. We don't know where it came from. And no one understands it up to now. Where was this rain? And it's coming towards the very end of the rainy season. And I think there's some of those shifts that have happened in the climate patterns, that things are no longer predictable, no longer reliable, and therefore that changes the whole dynamics of the lives that people are living. I can go on and on. The same community used to have 80% of the people stock cattle and cows and whatever. Now it's less than 5%. The cows are gone, and because they are pests, there's the onset of pests and diseases for animals. Pests for animals, they only increase, and animals are failing to survive. And of course, it calls for measures. Now, these measures, we need input at all levels. What's happening, what's causing all this, and how do you help these people to adapt? It's not that they're not working hard. They're working so hard, very hard. They wake up 3 a.m., go to the field, 4 a.m. But after doing what their parents used to do, it's yielding different results. They need help. We're trying as much as possible to find adaptation strategies to help start changing or improving their livelihoods. And I can share more about that as well, but that's what's happening.
So you are experiencing exactly what the scientists have been telling us for years is going to happen in terms of climate change. You folks are living it.
We are right in the midst of their predictions.
Yeah,
For us, it's not just science. Actually, in the village, they're not even aware it's science.
right.
To them, it's life has changed, and why are we in this situation?
Yeah.
And the only challenge is it's lives are becoming desperate. You're talking about people making hard choices. A mother having to choose between education and food because you can't invest money in education when there's no food. So she's saying, okay, no more school. With the little we have to buy food and eat. Or there's no more food in the house. We all have got to go and do casual labor, raise money. And that's what they do. That's the coping mechanism. Find some piecework, get the money, and then they'll buy a basin of maize, which will cost about $2 to $3, and which they'll consume in a day or two, and go back, work some more, and get that. So we, of course, given the droughts, we are encouraging people to grow drought-tolerant crops. But even the drought-tolerant crops need a bit of rain
Right.
to take root for them. The ones they grew, sorghum is the most reliable one. And people, on average, they're harvesting about 2 bags this year, and which will only last them about 2 months, depending on the number of people per house.
So even with the drought-resistant crops, you're having trouble.
You have a big challenge.
Folks are still not being able to feed themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, if you had 3 things that you could ask all Christians here in the United States to do to help folks in Malawi with this issue of climate change, what would those 3 things be?
The very first one is that they share the concern with us and pray about this. Pray for people who are trying to respond in various ways, and praying that the people will not lose hope.
Yeah.
They are fantastic people. When you talk to them, they have a smile on their face. It's amazing, but they need prayer that their spirits will stay up and they'll keep going. And secondly, I've always been saying that the challenges people are facing, give them levels. Level 5 against capacities and resources at level 2. That gap needs to be closed.
Right.
That calls for governments to come in. That calls for believers and the church to come in. They are asking for irrigation strategies that will require a lot of investment. And so giving is another way that is required. The last thing is advocacy. We've got to speak to those who have the powers, who make the big decisions that have the biggest impact on people's lives, to come in. Now, I want to compound the picture by bringing in other dimensions to it, is that within that crisis, that context that we have, we also have got now governance issues in the country. So what it means is that you ought to advocate, we need to have good governance.
Right.
As that for our political leaders, good political governance and economic governance. Once those two are messed up, you are losing so much, and the people are driven into more vulnerability than ever before. When there's corruption, which is there, we had a political leadership that messed up relations with our donors, basically. And donors, at the time we need every aid we can get, donors just withdrew. So you actually are making a bad situation worse. So that's why we need action at all levels. So advocacy is critical. Whether here in America, where we are aware American government has been supporting Malawi and other countries, I think it's time to do more.
Have some tough conversations, it sounds like, are needed there.
It is.
Between the two governments.
Exactly,
Well,
yeah, sure.
but we also here in the United States, obviously, we need to do something about our own pollution, right? You're hoping that we're going to tackle this issue of climate change in terms of how we're contributing.
Very true, because we've been told that, and it's true that our human actions have consequences. And it may be an individual level actions that I do, but we are billions of people on this planet, and collectively, the damage and the consequence of our actions have got a big bearing. Um, so some of the actions, the pollutions that are happening, yes, we need economic growth, which is fantastic. That's where all the money comes from. But somebody said that sometimes what's good for the economy may not be good for the environment, and the environment is the one that sustains all of us. So we've got to think ahead and have solutions that take care of us today and also take care of our children and the future tomorrow. We need to balance on both of those two, and that whatever we do is good for us and good for our brothers in other sections of the planet.
Right. Well, Victor, brother, thank you so much for coming all this way to the United States to talk to us. And we'll be also in some meetings with folks in the White House and senior environmental organization, members of senior environmental groups. So we're going to look forward to having you there as well. But anyway, thanks so much for coming all this way.
Thanks so much. I appreciate for this opportunity to talk about what's happening out there.
And we'll be praying for you.
We need that.
All right, brother. All right.
Thank you.
I'm Jim Ball with EEN.